Good morning, students. Today we are going to start extra questions for chapter number 1. Okay, then see one by one the first question. Give two examples where two or more parts of a single plant are used as food. So there are so many, and we can give the example of the mustard. In the mustard, seeds and leaves both are used. And the second example, it may be the pumpkin. In the pumpkin, fruits and flour both are used in making the dishes. Now next is, name any one part that grow in water. Okay, you have to give the name of the one plant that grow in water and is eaten as a food. Then the answer is lotus. In case of the lotus, stem of the lotus is eaten as it may be used in making the vegetables or in pickles also. Then question number 3, suggest any 3 ways that can think of to avoid wastage of the food. So there are 3 ways, 3 main ways which we can discuss or which we can tell. Number 1 is avoid leaving food uneaten in the meal. It means you have to take as much you can eat. Don't take the extra. And the second is eat to live and not live to eat. Right? Excess eating should be avoided. Then third is raw food like the pulses, grains. These should be stored properly, and do not store in extra amount. Right? You have to store and that much of amount only which can be consumed by your family members in a particular time period. Now next question is, name two sugar producing plants. Then the sugar producing plant is, one is sugar cane and the second is sugar beet. These both are used in making the sugar. Okay. Name one green plant that we eat. Non-green plant. Okay, you have to give the example of the non-green plant. Most of the plant they are the green, and जिनके कि हम product जो है वो use करते हैं. You have to give the example of non-green plant. Then non-green plant is mushroom, है ना, which is eaten. Now next is, what do you call the habit of an individual to eat a particular type of the food item commonly? Then it is called food habit, right? Okay, now next question, what items are used to prepare cooked rice? Then the item which are used to prepare cooked rice is raw rice and water. Okay, study the ingredients of the various food items. Do they have some common food ingredients? Then yes, some common ingredients which we use in most of the dishes, that is number one, water is water, then salt and oil or ghee. These are the most common ingredients which we use almost in most of the dishes in which uh, we use. Then next is, what are the two common sources of most of the ingredient of the food item? So we know all the food item we either get from the plants or from the animals, right? Then these are the 9 questions you will write in your notebook. And next is part 2. Part 2, you have to write these definitions also in your notebook. Now see one by one. The first is nutrition. The process by which living organisms take the food and utilize it in the body for the different purposes as the growth, repair of the worn out tissues. This process is called nutrition. Now next definition is producer. An organism that prepare its own food is called producer. है ना? You can give the example also, green plant. Example, green plants, right? Or green plant. Okay, now next is consumer. An organism that directly or indirectly depends on the food produced by the producer. They are called, yeah, that is called consumer. Now next is herbivore, an animal that eats only plants for food, that is called herbivore. Okay, now next is carnivore, an animal that eats both animal for the an animal that eats other animal, which depend on the other animal, which eats the flesh of the other animal, that is called carnivore. Okay, now next definition is omnivore. Omnivore is an animal that eats both plants as well as animal for their food. So that type of the animal is called omnivore. And scavenger, an organism that feed on the dead and decaying matter, or we can say dead bodies of the plants as well as animal, that is called scavenger. And in the scavenger we can give the example of the it may be what vulture. Vulture is the example, and crow, maybe, and next hyenas are the example. And in omnivore you can give the example omnivore, humans are omnivore, most of the birds, and crow, that is also omnivore, and there are so many others also. Okay, now next is decomposer. So decomposer is an organism that breaks down the organic component in the remains of dead uh, plants and animal. It means, or in other words, we can say decomposers are the organisms which break down the dead and decaying matter, which break down the dead and decaying matter into the nutrients of which are used to make that particular material, है ना? It means decomposers decompose the or break down the dead and decaying matter or organic matter, है ना? Into its component, final components. Okay, now next is parasite. What do you mean by the parasite? An organism that lives on or inside, right? Lives on or inside the body of the another organism to obtain the food is called parasite. And that organism from which it is taking its food, that is called host, right? Now see once again, an organism that live on or inside the body of the other organism to obtain food from its host is called parasite. There are so many examples of the parasite. If we talk about the animal parasite, then in the animals lice, lice, which live on the head. And the second may be the ascaris. Ascaris is the parasite which live in the small intestine, right? And then if we talk about the plants, then in plants, cuscuta is the parasite. This plant grow on the other plant, है ना? Okay, then these are the few definitions and the questions also I have told you. You have to write these all in your notebook. Okay, this is enough for today. Thanks and have a nice day.